Canon makes some great cameras, but their emphasis is on photographers, and the needs to make video is very different from photography. And the big difference is that photography seems to be about getting things fast and quick, fast focus, fast film speeds, whereas video tends to be about capturing interesting behavior and movement and activities where you're not really seen. So a lot of the sort of bells and whistles on the 80D are really kind of unnecessary. Now, I'll start off with the best thing. So I had the D7, and the D7's touchscreen was very bad. Bad quality, didn't move from the body. So 80D is excellent. The flips out screen, absolute must. Okay, so all video camera, you must have that. And it's just for the reasoning, you know, you can do things like that and take video as this, on a tripod, of course. The touch screen is awesome. The quality of the image on the screen is now much better, and the lighting on the screen is phenomenal. The Canon D offers autofocusing, offers tracking, offers touch screen focusing. You can take the image, you can press on the screen, and it will focus on that spot. This is the main reason why I bought the 80D. But my reality is that I don't trust the technology. When I'm filming birds in trees, the camera doesn't know to distinguish a bird from a leaf. So I can't use those. The tracking technology isn't good enough to clearly follow the bird. So I obviously would prefer to focus on the eye. The tracking will go to the body and then focus on the body as it moves around. But every once in a while, it will just completely lose the bird. So if I'm in a situation where, as we are, you're in a very unique situation, you've got this close encounter, it's amazing, you don't want to take the chance that the machine's just going to go and focus off. And I've got this example here. These are blue-winged parrotlets, and you can see the bird's in focus, everything's fine, doesn't seem to be changed, and all of a sudden the camera just goes right out of focus. Yes, touching the screen for focusing has been useful 3% of the time when you have sort of a group of birds in a very relaxed situation where they're there for a very long time, and you can sort of press and go into one, and you know you can edit and take those clips. But most of the time, I trust my handheld focusing. Now, I'm not moving the focus around when I'm filming, especially with a 400mm lens. So what I'm doing is the zoom, and I'll just go through the process. I find a species. You know, when you're going to take the shot that's going to be a good video, so how close can you get before it gets afraid, if you can get a nice background, how's the light. Once I've said, okay, this will work, I get the camera set up, and then I'm in right away zoom. And this offers a 2x and then a 10x zoom. And that is really important. That is what I use. I don't do the autofocus, and I use that to make sure, to guarantee that I've got the focus down. There's nothing worse than this amazing bird, and you all of a sudden feel frantic, you need to capture it. You settle up, you put it on autofocus, and then you're watching the machine record and hoping, you know, your depth of field is okay, that the head's going to be in focus because the machine's focusing on the biggest part of the body. When I was making the decision of what next camera body to buy, I was very seriously thinking about mirrorless, and I now regret that I didn't go mirrorless. I don't need the mirror in this camera. I use the screen constantly, especially with the zoom focus. I trust the zoom focus better than I trust my eye on focusing. The main thing that made me move away was I noticed that the battery life was like a quarter of what the battery life is on these. And I thought going out in the field, that would be really important. Now I look back at it, I would just buy 8 batteries. These are little tiny batteries you can put in your pack. They really don't weigh that much. That is more important to me. So I bought the Canon 80D, made the investment for good video. And then I was doing interviews, and I found I needed sort of a backup video of the similar quality, and I read an article that said that the Canon Rebel, the cheapest sort of Canon SLR, SL3, has the same video technology. So I purchased the SL3. The SL3 has 4K. The 80D does not have 4K. And I would say for any videographer, for any ornithologist, you really want to go 4K. So now almost all of my video, including this one I'm doing right now, is on the SL3, which has horrible autofocus, which the shutter, I mean, it's a cheap camera. It's great for a starter camera, but you can really feel the difference that it's a cheap camera. Everything doesn't work quite as well. The variation of ISO is very limited, but it has 4K. Basically, you're out in the field recording rare events, and 4K will record more information than your standard high definition on the 80D. And that means you can get a still from the video that's pretty good. Here's an example of, this is a still from a video from the SL3 of 4K. Now the problem with the SL3 is that the 4K is only offered at 25 frames per second. So it's 25 frames per second. So if you want a good video, you're shooting at 50th of a second. I mean, you could push it up. It also means that most of the stuff on their phones and whatever, people are just watching HD anyway. So you can crop a 4K to HD and get a better shot. So I mean, and what's even crazier, and I don't understand how this exactly happened, but the 4K has a closer image than the HD, which means that I'm using a 400mm lens, but with 4K, it's actually working out to be a 500mm lens. So it gets me a bit closer. And the fact that it's filming at 4K, I can then crop it, so then I could have a 700mm lens and still have a beautiful HD image. So I am 100% 4K and then has 8K, and thinking, oh, maybe I should make that investment because it's just more data. You know, the fact that we're taking film, it can also be useful for plumage variation, what have you. And you know, the more you can zoom in and get detail, the better. My next purchase, a mirrorless 4K or even more. Canon's been doing a great job, but their emphasis has been on for photographers. And I really would like to have seen at the board meeting when they discussed the noise problem of the autofocusing lenses, because the lenses do this kind of tick 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 sound when it's autofocusing when you're doing video. And they know that, they're aware of it, because when you buy the 80D, there's a little warning that says, try to use an external mic because there is some autofocusing lens noise with the internal mic. Well, if you can see my mic here, it's as far as you're gonna get a mic from the camera when you're filming, and I still pick up all the tick 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 tick. So, just some of my opinions in my experience. Been very interesting, the evolution where I was using all the new technology on my camera, and as I filmed and made more mistakes, whenever I ended up just doing absolute basic manually focusing, manually setting up my shot, letting myself make the mistakes and not the machine.